This is not your 3D DM. This is his 5D self. I come to you. I come to you. You know, that's the simplest thing to say. I know that you see me within my 3D self, and no matter what crazy things that he's doing, you see me. Sometimes I feel like that. I don't know, you know, where there's sometimes the movies where people go invisible and they don't know how they went invisible, but people can't see them. They wonder if they're a ghost or something. And then that one person can see you. You're like, you could see me? You really see me, even under all of the mask and the macho machismo nonsense. You can see me. And that's how I know that you are my DF. That's how I know that you are really loved, because I mean, I've watched my 3D self go through listening to the vicious words of others and saying, she just wants money. And I've watched him try that out. Try offering you things, money and stuff. It wasn't that. You didn't want the money. I've seen my 3D self go in and try to offer you everything under the sun, and none of it works. The only thing that ever works with you is radical honesty and just being natural and kind. And I have to tell you, I mean, as the 5D self to your DM, the conversations that go on between me and him are often quite fun lately, quite absurd, because he knows as well as I know that the only way to feel good is to follow in your example and to have as much of you in our life as possible. Though the only way to do that, you've set the boundaries very clearly. And oh boy, I mean, you sure are more open and far less judgmental than anybody else we know, but you've made it very clear what you will accept and what you won't. And it's part of why I've come to you, DF, through this channel to tell you to worry not, to think about all the times that it's been predicted, that you've predicted, that it's been said that I will come to you. And I want you to take some time, DF, to sit back and consider just how divine you really are. In any moments you might worry about me, in any moments you might question if I will come, I want you to step back and think about who you are, who you see that you are to others around you, to the kids, to the family, to friends. I want you to consider all the things that have happened while you've been on this journey. Look at how many people have chosen you. Look how many ways I have chosen you. Do you think that my silence is not 1,000 words spoken? That I have not allowed the strings to be broken? My 3D self can't get there either. That's another funny set of conversations. He holds on, and yet he's not quite in alignment enough with me to even look at that. To even look at that he is doing that. And the fact that you challenged it, oh man. DF, that's his 5D self. I was sitting here rooting you on that whole time. And as you got braver, as you spoke your truths, as you made my 3D self look at himself, really look at himself, as you said things that nobody else would have said. For one thing, because they've always been fucking with him, and not for good reasons, so they had no motivation to go that far. Because they just wanted 3D things. And my 3D self, he's a prideful sort. But I promise you, once he and I are in union, you'll see why I and Spirit have continued to give you the message. He's worth the wait. I'm worth the wait, and you are worth the wait. Look back and think about how many ways that you've grown, even through all the awfulness. How many times that you've seen my footprints through what he does. How you've seemed to notice the difference. I can clearly tell you've been learning about the spaces of difference between your 3D self and your 5D self. And I think part of why I'm able to talk to you like this again is because you are coming into alignment with you as who you are. You are starting to figure out what your identity is when you are just you. With me or not with me, with anyone or not with anyone, you are seeing you, and I want you to think about how divine you are, how legendary you are. Don't feel conceited about it. You're too hyper accountable to ever be able to ever say it and really be conceited. Too sweet and too kind. Only person, at least that my 3D self's let himself get entangled with, that actually is too kind. Too kind. And feminine, I want you to know that this whole hot girl summer thing that you've been talking about, it's really amping things up. There's a lot of things that you don't see, and like I said, as you've gotten braver and said what you've said, as you've sometimes your intuition that's told you to say things to my 3D self, it's been me saying, now say this, say that. And I know that even you have thought about, wow, it's incredible some of the things that you've said. Just trusting, just having faith, not needing to know all the hows or the whys or the what fors. And I know that you can't see all of it right now, but the more adult you have treated my 3D self, even amongst tantrums and bad behavior and things like that, the more consistent that you have become in that, the more he has come into alignment with me. And clearly, I have no control over what you do. And so there's so many things that you have done that even I did not expect. I tell you, sometimes as my 3D self's higher self, I sit in these realms just waiting to be able to reconnect with him so that we can have fun in the individual experience. And I look at him sometimes and I think, no wonder, no wonder we're in the position we're in. No wonder things are so messy. And sometimes even I want to say, you know what, I'm gonna be okay without union with my 3D self. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. I was hoping for it in this lifetime, but that's okay. But then you do stuff. You do stuff that you don't even know that you do. That reconnects with me, that reconnects him with me. There'll come a day when I'm in alignment with my 3D self where I can speak and I can tell you about all the amazing things that you did that you didn't even know that you did. How many times you answered prayers and didn't know you were. How many ways that you changed everything. And I know that half the time it wasn't even trying. You were just practicing what you said you would, being yourself, working on yourself, doing the right thing even when it's hard. And I can tell you, DF, there hasn't been anybody in this lifetime that has ever gotten so close to either me or even the depths of my 3D self. And pretty much everybody else gave up just like he feared. He manifested that, and they co-manifested it by pulling away, by doing what everybody else does. And you, not you, of course not you, you find a way. You find a way to alchemize the pain. You find a way to stay amongst the drama, amongst the nonsense, and yet you boggle the mind, especially my 3D self's mind, boggle the mind about how you can manage to hold healthy boundaries and glow up and have your emotions and hold space for his when he gets brave enough to share them, and hearing me and doing all that. Somehow you manage to change everything. Everything. And somehow you're always the spotlight. I don't even know, somehow that's my 3D self-talk, and I know why you're the spotlight. Because you don't do anything like everybody else does. I realized that a long time ago. You're different. And that's important, because I'm different too. And right now I'm going through a lot of Dark Night of Soul stuff with my 3D self. With the help of everything that you've done. Like I said, you don't even know all the ways that the things you've done have helped to get to this time and space where I can feel more consistent harmony and union with my 3D self than ever before. And every time that you work on that with yourself, and every time you let yourself just be you, when you explore who you are just as you, I'm able to get my 3D self to do that too. And I want you to know, really, I know you've been making notes, keeping track of cycles and seasons and things like that. It's one of the things that is amazing to me. Somewhat aggravating to my 3D self, because his big ego is still in the driver's seat, but even he finds it amazing. But I want you to know that, no good deeds go unpunished. And even of the few times that you may have done something that you're not overly thrilled about with yourself, even those, like, nothing is wasted. As a 5D being, I am a closer part to all that is, to all the universe. I can guarantee you nothing is ever wasted, least of all love, least of all kindness. And you have done more for my 3D self and for me than anyone else ever. That does not result in punishment. That does not result in anything other than the grandest adventures. And I want you to know, because of the way you've carried yourself, because of even some of the messes you've allowed yourself to make, you have provided the framework that I needed to be able to help my 3D self see that, yeah, you need money to be somewhat comfortable in life, but it ain't gonna buy you happiness. Big house, big cars, all that stuff, it's nothing if you ain't got the right person sitting next to you to enjoy it with. And you can't have somebody sitting next to you to enjoy it with until you can enjoy it by yourself. And you've shown me how to fight for love, fight fair, and that there's certainly a lot more things that you can do when you fight fair for love than I ever would have thought of. And you've shown me, you've been the example of how can you walk alone and still find happiness. And still also be true to your heart when you love someone and you miss them, and you care about them. How to Move forward while leaving the door open. There are many interesting dimensions, and this certainly isn't the time nor the place to describe exactly what it is like in the day in the life of a 5D self. But it's definitely not as easy as it might seem, at least not at first. We are all in an interesting connection, but either way, feminine, whenever you find yourself in a moment of worry about time or space, think back. Think back to what you have noted, what you have journaled, what you've recorded, what's been etched into your mind. And think about all the times that you tried to walk away, that you tried to put it away, and either you chose not to, and you handled it with love and care and emotion, or when you were determined to be done and I came back in. And remember also that you are too powerful and too smart and too intuitive to ever be the sort to be entangled with somebody who is just messing with you. And spirit most certainly would never throw into your path someone that wasn't worth it. I know the same is true for me, and my 3D self is seeing it too. And trust me, whatever it is that you might venture into as the sun brings forth life and adventure and fun and hot girl summer stuff, that anything that you might choose to do with your time, it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be another wonderful example of how to carry yourself with grace and class, how to be a healing force, how to heal from the things that have broken you in the past, so that when you move forward, you don't bleed all over everybody else from all the baggage you're still carrying that's cutting into your shoulders and chest, like me, my pitiful 3D self and all. And, you know, the other thing, feminine, is that it's funny to admit, but both my 3D self and me, the 5D self, there's a part of us jointly together that want to be able to pursue you, that want to be able to not be not be punished, but to be able to come to you like a true masculine, a true divine masculine, like a man, and say, I know who I am, and I know who you are, and I know who you are to me, and who you are to me is the most important being. And I know who I am to you, and I have done what has been needed to have been done to feel like I deserve to be with you. And there's a part of us that wants to be able to say sorry for real, and that's coming up no matter what you decide to do. Though we can't, I can't deny it, and I feel the connection from my 3D self that there's something to be said about a feminine who can hold herself in high esteem and enjoy her life and not be attached to anyone or anything in any sort of unhealthy ways, who we know without a doubt loves us beyond Earth and galaxy and everything, and yet still carries on enough and never chases. I know that you think that you've been chasing, but feminine, with the kind of life that my 3D self went through and how long it's taken him to even notice me, let alone be able to consistently be in union with me regularly. Like, you're like a breath of fresh air. You do things so differently. And it's because of you that I awoke in the first place and have been able to connect with my 3D self so much. And I want you to know that there's very little wrong that you've ever been able to do. I know that that might sound contrary towards some of the fights that you've had with my 3D self, though he still hasn't really figured out how to not project just yet. He's getting better, but we're going to come into union with ourselves and amaze you. And so, in this time, if you feel like there's a strange bit of releasing to do, but it feels like it's important not to let go, but also to let go. It's partly me coming to you saying, just have faith. Have a little faith in me, and have faith in you more than anything. I know that even with 3D self that has broken down and given you messages from me saying, you've changed us for the better. You've given light where there was always darkness. You've made us face reflections we didn't want to see, and when it happened, things turned out better afterwards, every time. And I can guarantee you, feminine, because I get entwined with the thoughts of my 3D self, that there's not a moment that goes by that he's not thinking about you. That's part of why he's acting the way that he is, because he's never experienced that before with anybody. And ever since the day that you walked into his life, the day that you met, life has never been the same. And he's unsure what those, like, he knows what those feelings mean. I have talked with him enough, but he's still in a place of feeling like to give in to that is to lose control rather than to gain it. But he can feel it. Why do you think he can't let you go? Why do you think he comes around? Because he knows. He feels safe with you. He knows when he does what you do, for the most part, it feels good. He knows that the world feels right when things are harmonious with you, even just for simple conversations. And although I haven't gotten him yet to learn how to open that throat chakra and open that mouth and not be so afraid to speak the truth, he thinks about it every day, all the time.